In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening and welcome to America in Black and White. I am your host, Charles Zachary King, and if you're here with us tonight, then you already know this is not just a television show, this is a sanctuary. This is a space where Black stories are told with the full weight, full dignity, and full beauty they deserve. This is where history breathes. This is where truth is spoken without apology. And this, right here, right now, is where we refuse to let excellence go unwitnessed. Every single episode, we come to you with a sacred commitment to amplify the voices, the visions, and the victories of our people. Not the sanitized version, not the palatable version, the real, raw, redemptive truth of what it means to be Black in America and still rise, to still build, to still believe. That is the heartbeat of this program, and that heartbeat does not stop. Tonight, we come to you with something special. The theme of this episode is healing communities, building legacies. And I need you to sit with that for a moment. Healing communities, building legacies, 4 words that when strung together with intention and action can change the entire trajectory of a people. We live in a time when our communities are under tremendous pressure. The weight of systemic inequity, generational trauma, economic exclusion, and spiritual awareness presses down on so many of our neighborhoods, our families, our children, and yet, in the midst of that pressure, diamonds are being formed. Men and women are rising up, rolling up their sleeves, and doing the hard, holy work of rebuilding what has been broken. Tonight, we sit with one of those diamonds, a man whose life is a testimony of what happens when faith meets action, when purpose meets pain, when a community finds a servant who refuses to quit. He is a minister, a founder, a father, a fighter, and every single one of those labels has been earned by sweat, sacrifice, and a love for people so deep it cannot be measured. He carries in his spirit the torch of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s beloved community, that radical revolutionary vision of a world where every person is seen, every family is supported, and no one neighborhood is left behind. He does not just quote that vision, he lives it, he builds it every single day. His story touches of faith and fire, on grief and grace, on the kind of legacy that does not come from fame or fortune, but from faithfulness, from showing up again and again. For the people who need you the most, I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm excited for you to meet Mr. Leonard Ervin Jr. Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. King. How are you doing today?
I am doing just excellent. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back with you again. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, I had to take some notes myself, and I said I need to put some of that stuff in my bio.
So, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
Just sit back, stay online. I promise you, I'm gonna say something that you need to hear to encourage you, to inspire you. I have a wonderful story to share, and I'm excited to be here tonight.
Great. Well, so what we do is always here on the show is we like to start with giving our people the opportunity of learning who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I call that your life story. And
Okay.
so we go with your life story and your personal background. And so I want to ask you if you could just take us back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up, and what was life like for young Leonard Ervin?
Whew. Yes, the young Leonard Ervin. I was just telling myself that I was going to write a letter to my younger self, just to kind of like extract some of those lessons learned now as an adult. So I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up on the east side of Cleveland, and what you would consider, what they would say, the hood, the ghetto, etc. And I remember my childhood was like very it was actually very topsy-turvy. Just to go straight to it, at the age of 12, I had a major situation happen in my family, that my mother suffered a mental illness, and she had broke down. And so then, with me being the oldest child, I had to like step in. I think you said it too, like step into the fire and just hold down the fort for myself and for my siblings and for my other family members, because we had never ever experienced anything like this before. So it was all new and trying to still go to school. I remember I was in seventh grade when this happened, and that's right before you become a teenager. I think I was 12 still, and that's when you start really getting out, finding out who you are, what you want, and that was robbed from me. So my
Mhm.
childhood was robbed from me. So that's what my childhood was like. It's like my innocence was taken away from me, and I had to put on, big man trousers and, suspenders, and take on responsibilities that I didn't even know that I was really able to do it. You see what I'm saying? And so, and that's where, when we get back into later of it, about the vision, how everything came about. But that's how I remember my childhood, though, as really growing up. And I feel like there's moments where I kind of like do something to kind of like take back my childhood and get back my innocence and different activities. I just even bought a bike recently. Hadn't rode a bike in probably over 25 years, but I felt that inner child that's been healed now, able to like come out and smile and be seen again, because it was taken away from me, unfortunately.
So tell us about your grandfather. Who was he as a man, and what role did he play in shaping the person you've become?
Yes, I love my grandfather. He was one of those men that was like very, I would say he wasn't strict, but he was stern. And so he taught me a lot of life lessons about finances and about, relationships and being a family man, and making sure you have your own money. He said, make sure you keep your own money, and that you put a handkerchief in your pocket and a pocket knife. You know what I'm saying? Pocket knife to wipe, the handkerchief to wipe off if you need to use a pocket knife, and then money to make sure you can get back home. As I was a young man at that time. So I love him. I love his memories. He's no longer with our family, but he has been instrumental in just the way that I saw him work. He always was willing to work for what he wanted, and he taught me that no one was going to hand you anything. And he said you got to learn how to play the game out here. A lot of people are playing checkers, but the real game, you got to learn how to master is chess, and make
Yes.
sure make sure you're making the right move at the right time, so that you're not being snuck up or snuck over anything that may be happening with you. So that's the story I want to leave about my grandfather and his legacy that he imparted into me, about being a man and standing on principle and not compromising your values and your self-worth.
So, what values did your grandfather pour into you that you still carry with you to this day?
One of the main ones I think a lot of people need to take hold to is men don't work, men don't eat. and it is
Yes.
the culture now is like, I'm worried about it, I'm concerned about it. Dr. King, because people don't want to work anymore, but everybody wants stuff. And it's like, I don't know where that came into the culture or where that got spent into the system, but that was one of the greatest things I would think he taught me. Because I remember when I had my first job at McDonald's when I was, I think I first job at 15. I was so happy to be independent and being able to like have my own check and have my own money. I was a we grew up around the corner from a Jamaican store, so I was like happy to be able to go there and buy my own like jerk chicken and red beans and rice and stuff like that. So that will be one of the values, and I think the other values that he taught me is to um, how you present yourself to other people is what people are going to value or respect about you. So, like I said, he always carried himself with respect, never tried to get too common with us as his grandchildren, even when he interacted with his kids and stuff like that. He just always, showed me without me even knowing at the time as I'm fleshing this out that boundaries are essential, boundaries are necessary in life, no matter who you are and where you're at.
Well, so I want to say to each and every individual out here that's watching with us, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for being here as usual, and those that are here always, I appreciate you so much. Can you tell us, when did you first feel called to serve? Was there a defining moment, a still voice, a sign you couldn't ignore?
Yeah, actually, when I believe, because I had my first formal job when I was 15. So again, when I was about like 12, 13, when my mom was doing this, I remember a lady was walking down our street. We was about 5 houses from the corner, stayed on the street called Continental. And I remember her stopping right up under the tree that was like right there by the end of my driveway. And I heard her say, "Man, if I had me something cold to drink right now," because I think, yeah, the lady, she lived all the way at the end of the street. And we had a long street, so it was hot, summertime. She had a long way to go. And I heard her say she had something to drink. She would keep going to be able to make it down the street. And I remember the very next day, I was back out there with a cooler, and I had went to the Kroger. No, it was Finest at the time. I went to the grocery store, and I bought like a 24 pack of pop, and I had set it up and started selling canned pop. At that time, I was able to sell it for 35 cents and still make a profit off of it. And then the next day, it was like everyone stopped that day and like I sold out for real, for real. I sold out of the 24. They're like 35 cents. Oh yeah, I buy that. I end up making my own like little storefront right there at the end of my garage. We called it the NIC store. I got that from Lean on Me. Uh, and it was like a community staple. I did it for like 2 or 3 years, and I literally had other people working for me. We had schedules. I even had like little mini payroll stubs because we end up expanding from making selling the pop to adding water to adding popcorn to uh, baking cupcakes and cookies. So that's when I started serving the community right there, meeting that need, not even knowing that it would give me the vision that I have now. So I think servant leadership was always in me, even at 12, 13, when I started that store on my own and without any initiative for anybody else. I just kind of knew what to do. It's kind of like, when a dog has puppies, they instantly know how to be a mother, even though they've never done it before. It was like I instantly knew how to make this store be successful, and we had good money, and I was surprised at how successful it was.
Wow. What did black manhood look like in your household growing up? And how did that shape your own understanding of what a man is supposed to be?
Black manhood in my family, this is where we got to get the raw truth. It was chaotic. It was domestic violence. It was crackheads. Uh, it was crack fiends. Uh, a lot of cussing, swearing, a lot of disrespect. I grew up watching my aunts and uncles like literally like trying to kill each other, like literally fighting each other, stabbing each other with forks. You know what I'm saying? Even saw my mom before she got sick, fighting with her sister. They would fight all the time, and actually that started my trauma, because I even have like flashbacks sometimes that I gotta kind of like deal with or pull down, because there was one fight that they really got kind of a little aggressive and very hurtful to each other. So just constantly always seeing that, and then yeah, it was just it was bad. It was bad, to be honest, about just seeing how family was. And I always remember kind of like, I always felt like one of the houses, like I felt like our house was one of the houses on the street that like always had drama. It was like about 3 or 4 houses on the street that the family was always outside fighting, and somebody was doing something, and just police having to be called and stuff like that. So police have been called a few times at our house for different domestic violence, between siblings, people in relationships. So yeah, and then I had a stepfather that would abuse me at times, and just aggressively punch me in my chest and my shoulders and stuff like that, instead of just getting the belt if you're gonna reprimand somebody or discipline somebody. So it was abusive at times, both verbally, mentally, and physically. I remember even getting into fights with my stepdad, trying to break up him and my mom, fighting and stuff, and him trying to put his hands on her. And I'm like, 10, 11, 12, you know what I'm saying? At that, still a young man, not even in my teenagers, experiencing this type of behavior.
Oh, so what are the things have you learned from what younger you has experienced to where you are now, and how you have developed to be this true community leader?
Well, one of the things I had to realize, and maybe someone watching understand this too, is that all of that was putting anger inside of me. I had a whole lot of anger. I had a whole lot of bitterness just about how my family was. Even though I went to school and went to college, it was still those incidents that was part of my childhood, and that no one ever came and said, "Hey, don't get caught up in that. There's something better." I didn't really even know there was anything better besides what I had been presented, because technology and stuff at that time, you didn't have a whole lot of access to a whole lot. We didn't have cable regularly, so it was basically regular TV. Watching. I remember the Cosby Show, Family Ties, stuff like that, trying to give me some positive reinforcement to help me understand what a good family could look like, or a good family could appear to be. And coming from a situation or environment where that was not our norm, I had to deal with anger, being the tough guy, and not really wanting to have community for real, is what I remember as a child coming into my adulthood. Is I was not even really willing to acknowledge it. What I want to say to those who may be listening, at some point you got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, why do you just want to, like, I remember I would literally, when I used to go out to the clubs and stuff, I remember I would literally be out, like, subconsciously in my mind thinking like, oh, I wish somebody did something today. It's like I just had it in me, and I just wanted it to come out and be expressed in a violent way, because that's all I knew was violence. You see what I'm saying? I didn't know or grew up around people communicating, and I grew up with people yelling over each other, people talking over each other, people just arguing, people being drunk and being obliterated and just saying all type of vile things to each other, that I thought that's what we did, as men. And yeah.
As you think about it, for some people normalize that kind of behavior. What were some of the things that you learned that you realized that this was not normal behavior and you had to get above the fray?
Like arguing and always wanting to have the last word, and feeling like I was going to make you argue with me, because I used to love to make people argue with me. I used to love to argue. I love the drama. I loved all the theatrics and all the other stuff that goes along with creating problems and just wanting to be difficult. You know what I'm saying? And I was that person. I would literally be difficult just to be enjoying being difficult, not even knowing I was being difficult, but I was, and not willing to compromise. It was like I had developed a one way, one track mind. Like, hey, it got to be my way or the highway. You know what I'm saying? Either get on board with the way I want to do it, or like get out my life, get out my face. Had a very dismissive type of personality. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just had to be in control. So I did, out of all the trauma I grew up with, me, and then that's where I had control issues. And we can be so controlling, and she can't do this and she can't do that, or they can't do this or they can't do that. Whatever you're doing as a leader, you can be very controlling. As an entrepreneur, as a brother, as a friend, you can have a friendship and you're very controlling, and it always got to be where you want to go, and everybody got to do it the way you want to do it. And someone having too much fun, then you got something to say about it. So though I would say the anger and the control is two things that I really, really had to unpack and learn about compromise, learn about give and take, learn about what real love is, because we think, because we got this big, macho attitude, we got this anger, oh, I'll get you together, I'll knock you out in one punch. We think that's what we're here for. We think that's what we're created for. We like to say that's our identity. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'll cut them off. Oh, my clap back, my shut off game is like lethal. And when we say those things, we're still in our charm and we don't realize it.
Wow. And again, I got to tell you, as I think about that, and I can remember, when I was growing up, that, as you say, there's a few houses that's always on the block, where you have those things going on. But, just as I think about that and I look back, when I think about younger me to now, I want you to tell me from, for you, when you think about younger you as you were going through those things,
Mhm.
and it's like it's always chaos and disorder. What was the point, the turning point for you that got you away from that, where you started to get better in all the things that you were doing?
You know, it's interesting. I had like a two-edged sword. So as much like chaos and drama and all that dysfunction that I had going on, I can say it now because I'm through the other side of the storm. But God's hand was on me at the time.
Mhm.
And I say his hand was on me at the time because I had opportunity uh to smoke and drink, and I even remember I was invited a couple times to be part of a gang and different stuff like that. It was like I never wanted that, because I saw what it did to my uncles and saw what it did to my aunts, and just how like chaotic my family was. It was like I didn't need nothing else to add to my resume on that type of lifestyle. And I just remember in school, I really excelled. It was like I didn't struggle with academics. It was something that was like a natural thing for me, that I was able to do my schoolwork. Again, was a regular child. I had my own issues and problems. So I'm not going to say that, but it was like somehow I was able to still go to school and finish school despite all the drama, despite mom being in and out of mental hospitals, despite of all the other issues that we had going growing up as a child. And I haven't said that part yet, but my father wasn't in my life either, even though he was in Cleveland. But I remember there was a point in time in my life I probably did not see my father for like 5-6 years straight, and we were in the same city. And so he missed some of those important highlights of my life, my adolescent years. And then he came around uh, somewhat after graduation into the college years.
Despite all of that that was going on that time in your community,
Mhm.
I want you to describe your community, as it did these things for you, as it raised you. Um, what did it teach you about resilience, about survival, and about belonging?
Yeah, I remember, I grew up in the hood, and, it was the real hood. Police stayed out there. We had boys on the block all the time. You had, gang fights. You had, um, man, I lived right next to a lady on Continental in Cleveland, and her house was broken into, and she was raped like 2 or 3 times. And it was like, and she was older too. She was let's see, when I was probably like, in my teenage years, she was up in her 70s, 80s at that time. And, but all them drug addicts was over there. And it was like, I remember thinking about it. Last night while I was sleeping, the woman right next door to me, and I go and I would take her. She was a lottery number, so she would pay me like $1. At that time, you get like 2 Reese cups or something. So I was good for it. She would pay me like $1 to go and stand in line and play her lottery numbers. So we had a relationship, and then just seeing other people and just people that neighbor across the street, she OD'd on crack, and so I remember them pumping on her and bringing her out of the house. And then remember someone being found dead. And so all of these things was going on as I was in my community, and we realized and we recognized it. And it was like, you watched out for yourself and you just prayed and hoped that none of those things would ever happen to you. I remember when they were like jumping people and robbing people for the starter jackets back when I was
Yep.
back a teenager. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And me being the hot head, me being the airhead, and my mom had took my jacket. I had a Dallas Cowboys jacket. I still remember. And I'm like, I wish somebody would try to take my shoes or my jacket. Like, we about to go head to toe. She's like, boy, you crazy. These folks out here with knives and guns and stuff. But I guess I really didn't have fear, growing up. Because it was like, I had this attitude like, man, I wish somebody would, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't even thinking about death. I just always have like valued myself and like minded my business. And I just really was never trying to take none of that stuff.
So, what was your relationship with the church growing up? And how did that early faith experience influence your sense of purpose?
So I ain't have no church growing up. That's always a funny thing I tell myself. Like, how you become a preacher and didn't even have no desire. I remember I could not stand church. We went to a Baptist church, New Life Missionary Baptist Church, whatever, in VJ Weathersby in Cleveland, Ohio. And I will always know when he got up to preach, I would literally be sleeping. But it was when he started all that what they call hooping and hacking in the microphone, I will wake up and look at the back of the clock behind me and like, okay, it's almost time to go out of here so I can get yeah, so church was not in me at all. And I tell people all the time, people be surprised about this too, Charles. Like, I question if God even existed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, my thing, I was always an analytical type child. I just never like took everything everyone said. And so I knew we had Jehovah's Witnesses like even up the street from us, and we were Baptists. And then we had another lady, I remember she was like evangelical something. And I always say, like, wait a minute, how do we know we got the right one? If everybody going to hell for not believing in them, how do I know that y'all telling me we with the right guy? You see what I'm saying? Because Jehovah saying this, and he had other folks, and I think I knew about the bean pies and the Muslim people, and it was just like, I was like, yeah, God, you got to show me something, and they got to be more than what these Negroes saying out of their mouth too, because I can't trust what they say.
Right.
And so it was a car accident after I had moved to Columbus, Ohio, started going to college, and I had a car accident where it was a 4-car pileup. And my car was like the 3rd car. So I got hit in the back. Then when I got hit in the back, I got hit in the front by the other car. Then the other car got hit again. So it's like I was like the ricochet. And my car, I got hit by a Jeep Wrangler that had that metal beam right in the front.
Yeah.
And, I had a Mazda 626. And when that Jeep Wrangler hit me in the back, it literally demolished my car in half. That I had to thank the Lord that nobody was in that back seat, because they probably would not have lived, or they probably would have been paraplegic or something like that. And I remember, I've gone to church, never joined the church either. So I was never baptized as a young kid in the water, one in none of the youth choirs or nothing like that. But I had enough common sense, or something came in my soul at the time, that I said, the devil trying to kill me.
Oh, Lord.
Devil. Now it's the devil, right? You ain't want nothing to do with Jesus Christ before. But it was like I knew that the devil was trying to kill me. And I had got invited to church that following week. And they was like, someone from my school had invited me. And they was like, man, you need to go to church. Get your life together, something like that. And so I went. and they had a guest preacher, and I remember she said, "There's a young man here that's struggling," and it was like God was like tugging on my heart then about coming into this relationship with him, and I went down that day and joined the church, and I think I got baptized like in 3 weeks later.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So let's transition over to your faith ministry and your spiritual leadership.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us, how did you receive your call to ministry, and what did that process look like in real live terms?
That process looked like nah, he ain't talking about me. Like, nah, it ain't me. He really ain't trying to have me preach this word. And I remember after I got in college, I started drinking. And do you know how they say a drunken man tell the truth, right?
Yep.
And so I was that drunkard preacher like Noah. So it was like when I started drinking and it got real good, then I would like start preaching to people like one-on-one at the different parties and clubs and stuff I was going to. And so that was when I really started maybe saying, hey, is there something more to me? Because like, why am I doing this when I get to drinking? And I I fought it. So if anybody out there listening, I get it. It's okay. It's okay to fight the call, because if you're like me, you take it serious. You understand that there's a purpose, and you take your relationship with God. And I valued it. It was like, we always was presented like God is somebody that, you just hold high and you just don't come any type of way or deal with him in any type of way. So I wasn't trying to do that, because I was still trying to live and enjoy my life.
Mhm.
So I remember,
Wow.
I just constantly just kept fighting it. And then I finally set up a meeting with my bishop. And I said this, I said, if my bishop tells me that he don't think I've been called, I'm leaving this thing alone. Because I had been at the church probably maybe about 7, 8 years or so.
Mhm.
I knew he knew me or whatever. And I trusted his leadership and guidance, but um, we had that meeting and that never came up. That never came up. No, I don't think you're not called. No, you got it wrong. And I'm like, man, the bishop didn't say what I thought he was going to say. I said, so God, I guess we're really doing this. And so I had to have the next meeting with the assistant pastor. And then he had mentioned in our meeting, he actually did say it, that he had saw that there was a calling on me before I had came. So it wasn't hard for him to believe that I was doing the right thing.
So, what does it mean to you to preach the gospel in communities that have been systemically marginalized and historically betrayed by institutions?
Good question. Because I was meditating on that today and thinking about how I feel like my assignment is about exposing the gospel of light. And there's a scripture that talks about, rise, shine thy light, and God tells us he's light and all that. And so what has happened in the underserved communities is that we've been so catapulted into darkness, so catapulted into poverty, so marginalized or disenfranchised into not feeling valued, not having enough resources. I always say this: why does our community got to be called the ghetto or the hood? Why it even have to be labeled such terminology that already puts a dark cloud over the people, over the community, over the young people, and it really does. So I feel like my assignment is to help us understand that those were lies and fables and myths that we were told, that we should have never ever came in agreement with it. And that's what happened. We as a community, we came in agreement with these concepts. We came in agreement with these ideas. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to let the government tell us that we're what they try to tell us that we are. No, we should be telling them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what has gone on here in America, and why there's been so much racial division is because they have called us white, they have called us black, and then make us be at odds and vengeful and we are really shameful of each other. You know what I'm saying? We're shameful of what uh, slavery did, whether you participated on what other side you participated, voluntary or involuntary. And I think we still haven't yet had that honest conversation about how to break that generationally, so it's not keep being passed on from family to family, brother to brother, sister to sister, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. So, how do you reconcile faith and justice in your own heart and practice? Are they separate paths? Or are they the same road walked together?
No, they got to go together. Faith and justice got to go together, because Jesus Christ and God the Father, he's all about justice. He's
Right.
about making, and let's keep it simple. What's justice, y'all that's watching? Come back and watch replay. Justice is all about making the wrong right. Yeah. And God has been waiting for a long time to allow a greater collective or a greater wave of justice to come into humanity for people that have been oppressed, especially people of color that have not reached the plateau or reached the mountaintop that Dr. King envisioned and had a dream about, that all of us could reach. And that is very much in our reach if we're willing to get there. So
So,
faith and justice is almost like they're Siamese twins. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, if you think about it, if you're believing or having faith for something, what are you really saying? You're believing that whatever is wrong is going to be made right. So that's your justice. You see what I'm saying? And so God is always a promise keeper. He's going to always allow good to prevail over evil if we're willing to wait on it and willing to do the work together and individually.
so as you talk about that, and they both should be together. What is it, if you could break that down for our audience so they can understand this in better, simpler terms?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that, what are the takeaways, when we talk about the spirituality, the justice, and the things of that nature, that people should actually get from that they should carry with them in their everyday life?
That when they were created, God created them to be living in abundance. You see,
Mhm.
we have to realize that there is a system that put us in a system.
Right.
And inside that system, they trained us
Yes.
through conditioning, you know what I'm saying? Through the
Yes.
school system, by taking the black man out of the family unit,
Yes.
making the woman have to now be independent. She got to go to work. So then I want you to put your kids in another system that all I'm going to train them to do is to obey and follow the rules of the law and never dream or imagine that anything good can come out of them. You give us history books that talks about how we were nothing but martyred on a slave ship.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But as you give his story or her story, we never get the story of us rising up. You know what I'm saying? Where is that story at in the history books? You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
trying to keep you oppressed that you don't have any faith to believe for anything. And a lot of people don't have faith for anything anymore. It's just about, if I can get by, if I can just make it. You know what I'm saying? People are content and they're so satisfied because they are worn out and they're tired. You know what I'm saying? People are tired of fighting. People are tired of having faith. People are tired of waiting on justice because they don't know how to properly position themselves so that what society or the devil and who the devil appointed to do his work, tell them that, oh, their time is up. And like that's the part where we got to get stirred back up, and as a spiritual leader and other spiritual leaders, that's where we got to get the people back to and make them stop feeling like they're just another number or another article or another breaking news story or another a funeral that we're having. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So, who are the ministers and spiritual leaders who have who have most shaped your theology and your approach to pastoral care?
I would say my bishop. What I love about my bishop, his name is Bishop Jerome Ross out of Columbus, Ohio, and I went to Tristone Baptist Church. He was very hands-on. He was one of those pastors that, we had a nice sized congregation, like about 1,000 members, but he knew everyone. He would come and embrace you and come and talk to you. He was available for appointments. And so he taught me that love and just loving the people unconditionally and being long suffering with him, because there was times when I had to go and meet with him for different things I was dealing with, one thing I took away was that he never ever made me feel like I couldn't get out of what I was in. He never ever like branded me as a reject or as a menace. There you go. Thank you. As a menace to society. You see what I'm saying? Like he always uplifted me and empowered me and encouraged me and didn't make me feel like I was going to hell because I did fall short. You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of people have gotten away from faith because they're tired of those messages. We're tired of you trying to tell me that a God is so loving that because I do fall or stumble, like I'm just gonna be in a brimstone lake of fire, and that's all that's gonna happen to my soul. Like, yeah, and all that gaslighting that you got going on from the pulpit. Yeah, I don't lead like that. I don't preach like that. I preach and teach unconditional love, and I teach that God is patient with you and God is going to meet you right where you at. Does not matter how long it takes because you here on a journey by yourself and your assignment is only yours and nobody can ever take away your assignment. So you ain't in no rush.
Right. So, what is the hardest sermon you have ever had to preach, and what made it so difficult?
The hardest sermon I had to preach was talking about the Matrix.
Talking about the Matrix.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah, and I say that because we hear about it, you know what I'm saying? We hear people talk about the Matrix and all that, and
Yeah.
they got the movie and all that, but it was like the Lord had really dealt with me to really see and understand how we, even the church under the spirit of religion, is inside of the Matrix.
Right.
And,
Right.
and that was heavy because I had to expose people that we like to look up to, even people of color that we hold in high esteem, that they're on the grid or the side that is not truth. You see what I'm saying? They're there to be a gatekeeper. So it was exposing the gatekeepers in our society, in our world, in our earth. So that was one of the hardest messages I feel like I have to preach and still preach, because a lot of people are still not aware of how deep this rabbit hole goes with uh how the world and society and culture and government and all these different things that we participate in, and how the media is controlled and this is brainwashed messaging, I want to call it, that they put before us, and just having the courage to talk about those things. So, these rumors and stuff about preachers and stuff that's been unalive because they was telling too much, and you like, okay, Lord, are you really sure you can keep me? I remember talking to the Lord when I was dealing with this. I said, now, Lord, you said you can keep me alive, right? When I tell this stuff about your people, that's
Okay.
and he's been good and he's done just that. So yeah, that was one of my hardest messages. And I think it's still going to be one that if anyone is a spiritual leader, that they're going to have to find the courage to really help people understand that you were put into a system. That's what Dr. King said before he died. And he was telling us about the Matrix when he said this. I believe I have ran my people into a burning house. See, I always look at, like, don't look at what he said while he was still in the good prime. Look at what he said right before he was about to die, without even knowing he was about to die. See, life already knew he needed to leave that. But guess what? Many people, when they think about Dr. King, they don't highlight that message.
Right.
They want to bury that because that's the truth in there. That's the revelation in that. You see what I'm saying? Because he saw it at the very end that we really did better by forming our own community, forming our own land, forming everything, our own city. Let's go ahead and say it. Yeah, we should have had our own state, I believe. Yeah. You didn't want us to be anything, but then when we tried to do it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and different bombings and stuff that you did, you always tried to tear down where we have tried to build ourselves up, because you really don't want us to be free, because you really understand that you're only controlling us by fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about when you use the Matrix and talking about that sermon, with the philosophical text and philosophizing what that actually means, can you sum that up in a word or two for people to understand? This is what they need to know from that point. Break it down two terms and move forward.
Yeah, I heard the word illusion. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I say matrix, is that I want you to understand that everything is programmed TV programming. So, what I'm saying, there's a reason why the news come on at a certain time of the day. Is the reason why it comes on late at night. So everything that you see is an illusion, is that there are actors playing an actor, is what we don't understand. And yeah, you said two words. So illusion, and I would say actors being actors.
Okay.
Mhm.
Illusion and actors.
Yep.
That's actually pretty good because just when you think about how deep that goes, as you say, from a philosophy perspective, that goes way deep. Let's transition over and talk about your work in community wellness. Community wellness, your 501c3,
Yes, sir.
and let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us the origin story. What was happening in your life and in your community that inspired you to found Community of Wellness?
So going back to what I said earlier about all the trauma, the drama, the anger, and I had reached a point right when the pandemic happened. It was like I was like having my own like mental breakdown. You know what I'm saying? It's like I had got heavy into drinking and got heavy into depression, and I was drinking to cope with the depression. And so when I had my breakdown, because I did have a breakdown, I did fall into and finally accept that I had depression. I think I was diagnosed with major depression disorder. And it was when I realized I was really hating myself. I had like this, I had built up this self-hate because for 10 years, I'm up here just going through the motions, faking it till I make it. You know what I'm saying? Still going to work, still going to church. At that time, I just was a elder in the church. And but I had not dealt with none of the stuff that happened in my earlier years. So it just kept building and building and building and building till it just like exploded and imploded. And I went through the process of getting myself together and getting the treatment and the different diagnoses. And I remember they even put me on some psychotropics at the moment. And I told myself, I ain't about to be able to take no hee hee ha ha pill. You know what I'm saying? Every day. I refuse to. I'm gonna be normal and I want to be focused in my right mind one day. And so
Yes.
uh I worked to get myself there. And then I it's like I had an awakening. Yeah, I did. I really had a true spiritual awakening. And that's when I started seeing the matrix and how it was really set up to keep me in a prison, you know what I'm saying, to keep my mind in a prison, because I started thinking about all the goals and the desires that I had. And I'm like, what happened to those? How did you get off course? How did you steer away from them? And I was sitting there one day looking at my life, and the doctor was giving me reports about my blood pressure and my cholesterol. And I just like, man, I need to get it all together. And so I started off just being on a holistic wellness journey just for me.
Right.
And in that, I saw everything that my family didn't have that I needed to get myself together with when it came down to the finances, all the mental stuff we had going on. And, there was sometimes and then there was major diseases going on in my family, heart attack, cardiac arrest, stroke,
Oh wow.
I'm talking about my family has had, and I've had to bury aunts and uncles and cousins because of all these different diseases. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be that way. And the doctor, like, if you have to put you on a cholesterol pill, I think when the doctor said he gonna have to put me on a cholesterol pill, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was hearing stuff about the cholesterol pill and how like it messes with your heart and stuff like that. And I'm like, heart disease already ran, in my family, on my mother's side, on my father's side, and everything else. And people's heart just stopping when they get out the car. And I'm like, I ain't trying to go like that. And so I had an awakening, and I had to come to Jesus moment where I had to like, it was like Paul when he had the Damascus Road experience, like he had to turn around and go towards the light and come out of the darkness and come out of the fellowship with it. And so I've been building my life back up, and that built up the community of wellness. And so what I did was I just mirrored what I did for me, and that became the blueprint.
Mm. Well, you know something. As I think about it, and I look at community of wellness, I know that we all, especially in a lot of our communities, sometimes when you have something that's different and you got to change from, all of that good eating that you're so used to,
Uh-huh.
doing, and you got to get rid of that. It kind of like gets to be a little problematic. But I think when people start to think about doing things a little bit different, and you start trying different things, it makes it that much easier. So as you were going through and you're getting community of wellness together,
Mm-hmm.
what problem were you trying to solve that you looked around and realized no one else was adequately addressing?
I was trying to just solve the problem of us getting back to natural healing. Natural supplements, because we didn't had all the fried chicken and all the butter corn and butter potatoes and stuff. I love it too, and I was realizing that I wasn't like eating a lot of fruits. Wasn't eating a lot of fruits at all. So I had even started selling some health products that I used to kind of like help me get back with putting like fruits and vegetables in my regimen every day and building up my testosterone and stuff like that. So that's what I was trying to do. I saw all the sicknesses and diseases that my family had, and how I remember there was one time in my family, I'm talking about my immediate family, I buried like 5, 6 people in
Wow.
1 year.
Oh no.
Yes, in 1 year, it was like we got hit hard with death. It was like, man, is there like a curse over the family or what? It was like people that we just never thought, people gonna die, but you just like, wow, I never thought they was gonna die like that, or they just gonna leave like that. And it was like, it was horrific. It was really sad for us that time period. Because I think it was around like 2017, 18, I believe this had happened. I know it was before the pandemic. So what I wanted to do was, out of all the death and all the sicknesses and different family members on with kidney failure, because what I said was, why is it seem like always in the Black community we getting our legs amputated? I said, why is it like always in the Black community there's a dialysis center?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was like I had an aunt that had kidney failure. She died on the dialysis machine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, heart just stopped right there on the dialysis machine, and I think she had already been on it for like about 9, 10 years. That's a long time to be on dialysis. And what I said was, if I had the opportunity that I could have helped her, lose some weight, that she can get herself in line to get a transplant, I would do it. And so I saw in the Black community how there was so much sickness, so many diseases, that we just wanted to medicate everything and just wanted to give everything a pill. And I realized that the medication, the pharmacy, was part of the matrix. It's part of the illusion. It's part of the prison. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to change our mindset and say, hey, there are things that you can do to help you live longer. You know what I'm saying? My own grandmother went into cardiac arrest while she was using the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? It's like my family has had the deaths at the most obscure places. Like, you just gotta make up. I had an aunt that was getting out of her car. She was going up 2 steps right there, went in cardiac arrest. Her heart just dropped. My grandmother's sister.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? I had another aunt. She had a stroke. And when she had a stroke, that never seen it before, but her tongue was literally out of her mouth for
What?
4 months. And they said it's a very rare case, but it was just like the whole.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm talking about horrific stories that I've had to live and witness as to why community wellness is such a part of me, because I cannot save my family. I got the receipts. I got the stories of watching my people die harshly from sicknesses and diseases, because we put all type of vile things inside of us. And I'm like, I couldn't do it for my family, but if I can help save another person from living longer, or having to have their foot cut, or having to be on dialysis for 15, 20 years of their life, then me coming here and me enduring all that trauma and all that pain and all that grief, and being able to impact 1, 2, 3, or how many ever number the God wants me to impact, then it's been worth it. Then I've taken all of my setbacks and allow it to set me up for a comeback. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. You know, I gotta tell you, you know, as I listen to that is one that will more than make one think.
Yeah.
But you know, which is why I think with a community of wellness, you know, I gotta say that it's gotta be making a difference, and I'm sure that it is. Can you walk us through what community of wellness actually does on a day-to-day basis, and what does that work look like in real time?
Yeah. So on a day-to-day basis, me as a leader, I'm praying for the people that are assigned to me, that are with me right now, and I'm praying for those that are assigned to me in the future, that they find me, that they locate me. And right now, well, the past year, because we're coming into our 4th year, so this past year, since last October, thinking about all the seniors that was in my family that did not make it, I've been working with grandparents and getting them back on track for a holistic wellness track. Because I feel like a lot of times when we get older, we feel like we just gotta, die sickly, and we just gotta die, always being in pain and always suffering. It's like, when we get older, we feel like we gotta just stop being healed, that we just gotta be suffering, and we always gotta be in a wheelchair, we always gotta be in a cane, and all the other stuff. Like who teaching us that? Who told us that? The Matrix. Yeah. So
That's crazy. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you got a thought? You can interject. Come on.
Well, what I was just gonna say is that you see, this is all of that poisoning that's being put into our communities because
Yes.
there's never anything healthy, and we could never have our own grocery stores.
Yeah.
It's always a place of where you can always place nothing but fast food.
Yeah.
It's always fast food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't, if you're going to eat anything else and you want anything else, now you got to go at least 15, 20 miles outside of where you live to get it.
Yeah.
Which means this is why you have to always cook really good meals yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was just thinking of.
Oh yeah, and we've been everywhere too. With the Mickey D's, and then the pizza joints, Little Caesars. Think about all the things that's always in the hood. You always got the McDonald's, and that's a whole nother conversation about what that food is and what that food isn't. Then you always probably normally have a Little Caesars. Little Caesars love to be in the neighborhoods where there's poverty. Keep giving us $5 pizzas, and ain't no telling what that is made up of. You see,
exactly.
And all this stuff. Then you always only have a Chinese restaurant in the hood. Like I said, why ain't never the Chinese in the Chinese neighborhoods? You never see a Chinese restaurant in the Chinese neighborhood.
Mm.
Yeah. Why do they always come into our neighborhoods where all they soy, and knowing that soy is bad for our heart? You see?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I had to realize this. They don't never give back to the community. But you always in the community taking the black dollar, taking the people of color dollar.
Right.
Your unhealthy food, but you can never ever get you to do anything for the community. I've even reached out to them, so I'm talking facts. I ain't hating on nobody. I've reached out to these places right here in the community where I'm at. Say, hey, I do X, Y, and Z. Can you do something? Oh no, we don't do that. I said, and I called them out one day. It was a Chinese person. I said, but you keep feeding us all your nasty food. Yeah. Killing us. We don't know if it's even real meat or not. It may be dog, cat, or whatever. Like, but you causing us heart blood pressure and making our heart be out of rhythm and everything, and cholesterol. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we gotta be willing to be educated and see what's really happening. And I'm teaching them, like I'm teaching the grandparents about getting back to loving themselves. Yeah. Stop loving that pill bottle, but love the fact that you can get well. Because
exactly.
As long as you keep thinking that you're sick, you're gonna keep being sick.
Exactly.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So it's been good. It's been a slow walk because they older. So I'm dismantling, 60, 70, 80 years of bad living, bad teaching that they have incorporated into their life. And when I do it, I always tell them about my grandmother. I said, I didn't get to do this for my grandmother, but I'm gonna do it for you. And so we got the Grandparents Association. Even this weekend, we have on our I'm doing the first, and I've done previous wellness or community wellness picnics, but this is the first grandparents association picnic that we're doing this Saturday, and I'm excited about it.
So, what does wellness truly mean in the context of Black and underserved communities? And how is that definition different from the mainstream conversation?
I would say for me, and what I think of community wellness, it's about living a holistic lifestyle. And I understand that in that what may work for one body, that's where everybody got to find out about their own body. You know, the world of matrix taught you that one BMI is for everybody. No, it got to go about your culture, your demographics, your height, and a whole lot of other stuff, that there's no one perfect science to anybody's body. But if you get in tune with your body and listen to it and understand what it likes and what it does not like, and that's what I'm teaching, like find out what your body like, what your body can accept, what your body can reject. You know what I'm saying? Because I found out that I couldn't eat chicken anymore. And I was a chicken connoisseur. I was chicken breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fried chicken, baked chicken, Roosters chicken, BW3 chicken, KFC chicken, Popeyes chicken. I was a chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But something with the chicken and how they do it and different things that they put in it, it was throwing my autoimmune system off. And it was like inflaming my leg, and I was having to go get treatments and stuff like that. And so got treated with that, and then got back on chicken. And I found out, oh, it's the chicken, because my legs started getting back inflamed. And so I never thought that I would not be eating chicken. So I don't eat chicken. So that's me. That's my holistic lifestyle, my holistic regimen that I have to do. So then, I supplement it with turkey. I can have turkey, but I can't eat that bird. Something about that bird don't like my soul, and we ain't in agreement anymore.
Do you think it's all the hormones that they put into the chicken?
I can think of what it was. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the hormones in my body, because I'm now eating more clean, and I'm doing more grounding and like holistic type activities with my body and with nature. So I'm trying to like bring synergy in me. And so my body was rejecting it because it was overloading my immune system with all them hormones from the chicken.
Yep. How does your organization address the intersection of mental, physical, spiritual, and economic health in a holistic, integrated way?
We teach them for what they are. So, I teach financial literacy and basics that you need to know about that. I teach you about physical health and going to the gym, so each, as I would say, each college is, I'm speaking to the future of it. So it's like each one of those would be like a college, the college of financial literacy, the college of mental health, the college of physical health. So that way it's all about us educating us, and especially people of color, because we just don't know what we just don't know. And we've never been taught, you know what I'm saying? Like, teaching these seniors how to do exercises. This is why you're sitting in a chair, and, women losing muscle density as they get older. Like, you need to be doing something that'll help support your back so we can get these seniors off the canes. And because a lot of them probably are not stretching or doing any muscle strength anymore, that they've lost it. So I incorporate all of it for what it's worth. Again,
so
I'm touching every part of your life.
So let's talk about your social justice and systemic advocacy.
Yes.
How do you define social justice, and why does it feel more urgent, not less urgent, in the Black community right now?
I define social justice is when you are creating not only equality, but you're creating equity.
Right.
EQUITY. And reason why I say that is because if they create a program and let's say it's based off of a certain income bracket, you should not be deprived because maybe you ain't got no income. But that's still something that you need. That's still a service that you need. You know what I'm saying? You still need a roof over your head. You still need food and shelter. You know what I'm saying? So it's not fair, and that's why I say we call it social justice, about creating um, things that are equitable and bringing about equality. Because if we just leave it at equality, then you're already disenfranchising, you're already marginalizing a group of people that maybe didn't even have access to the resource or the SSI check that you get. Everybody don't qualify for SSI, but they can't work, or for whatever reason that may be. So I'm all about getting the people that are underlooked, underserved, that have been overlooked, and going before different people in the community and different corporations saying, hey, I'm putting on this program, I need you to support it. And it's about advocacy. So I'm big on advocating. You know, I met with a few different political leaders and different leaders in the community, and I'm still doing it and letting them know, hey, there's a people on the south side of Columbus that is not like getting any traction. Because something about Columbus, where I live at, is like everything is for the north side of town and for the east side of town. But when you go on the south side, it's like people don't think that those folks over there need any love, but everybody know in the state or the city that they're struggling on the south side. You know what I'm saying? We can't keep turning our to a deaf ear or putting blinders over our eyes because those ones over there, they may smell a little different, they may need a little bit more work, because they're a little bit more intoxicated, a little bit more inundated with drugs and addictions. But that's where we go and be the light and take that gospel of light with this holistic truth and begin to show them another way and begin to draw them. What the Bible says, draw them by loving kindness. When I pull up with my team and we out there serving food or giving out hygiene bags or putting on different events, one thing they cannot say is that when they come into Leonard Ervin Jr.'s presence, is that they feel like I'm judging them or I'm asking, why ain't you got this or why ain't you got that? I don't care about none of that. How can I meet you today? What do you need from me today? What do I have today that can benefit you to lift you up in humanity and make you feel like that you're part of a community, you're part of a social experience? Because that's what we're all here for. We're all here for a social experience. And that social experience has taken away. So that's why we need social justice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You better preach that because that's so true. That's right on point. That's right on point. It don't get no simpler than that.
Yes, it's a social experience and it's been taken away. You know what I'm saying? We should be able to go and be in communities and share. And, I said, why is it that now the young people, as they label them the YNs, I said, why are they acting out like that? I said, let's go. I said, they're having a social experience too. So what socially has not happened for them that needs to happen, because all they're doing is crying out for attention. That's all they doing. Why they at the beach taking over? All that is just they want attention. And I promise you, if we talk to any of them, they will probably say they don't probably really understand what love really feels like. And why don't they understand what love feel like? Because AI is teaching them.
Oh Lord, you got that right.
Yeah. So they don't know what love is. They don't know about being in harmony and having a relationship. No. Right. It's about making a video real quick and I got 30,000 people liking it and telling me something about myself. That ain't love. That ain't relationship. So their part of their soul is crying out for a fellowship that society has tried to make it or limit it to some social, they use that word again, social media. You see what I'm saying? But the social media is interfering with the social justice so that you're not getting the right social experience that you can even love yourself as your neighbor. That's why you acting awkward and acting outward and just acting chaotic and dysfunctional and trying to harm people that you're supposed to be enjoying life with.
Yes. Yes. What systemic barriers do you encounter most often in the communities you serve? And how do you begin to address them?
I feel like on the social justice side, and I'm only talking about from where I'm at in Columbus, Ohio, that I feel like being a Black man in a society or city that is kind of like predominantly with white leadership, let's say, and they want to push all of the women. And hear my heart, women, before you turn up your nose at me. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I do agree that women have been disenfranchised and have been marginalized, but I do feel like they have been given a greater preferential treatment over funding and programming. When I started looking into this, it was like all this stuff was catered to women, social enterprise, women, this and that. And it was like, man, I mean, the men got to get out of jail sometime, you know what I'm saying? The men got to get off the street sometime, you know what I'm saying? It's like it always has been, because you got the baby, we gonna take care of you. But the man can't be in the house, or he got to be out here trying to barely make it to even get some assistance. You got to be almost at a point of like you feel like you got to rob somebody or rob a bank to get ahead, to even get some attention. And some people have done those things because they just couldn't get it the right way. So they say, hey, I know if I go to jail, I'm gonna get a bed, I'm gonna get a cot, I'm gonna get some food, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's a barrier I gotta overcome, because there's so many programming that is all tailored to women, and not a lot or not enough that is willing to meet the man, not just providing him with housing, but the man needs to be reprogrammed into a holistic mindset, because he doesn't even really understand his identity.
Mm. You know, can let me ask you this, because that kind of that sounds like brokenness. Is he broke?
Yeah, he's broke, and he's being two-faced. Yeah, two-faced, that he's putting a front on for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. When you all into the drugs, you all into the chaos, you keep going back and forth into the prison system, you keep being out on the street, you can't break your bad habits, you keep beating up on women, you keep beating up on people. Yeah, you're acting out of a two-face. Yeah. There's two sides to you. And you'll find out, like my grandmother told me, like there's good in everybody. You'll sit down and talk to the most heinous person, and you'll see a glimpse of that beauty in them. You'll see a glimpse of that authenticity in them. You'll see a glimpse of that integrity. But it's about making that man feel safe and grounded, and understanding that was never ever about you being vulnerable, even though it is a thing now, because you got to kind of like be vulnerable, because everybody ain't willing to be their authentic self. So that's why I say it's an identity issue. And so I want to get back to teaching men, young or old, that it's okay to be in tune with yourself. It's okay to understand that you don't agree with everything, and that you need a voice at the table. And when I am coming out and advocating, it's like I feel like I am fighting more than I feel like a woman will have to fight to get something for a woman, when I'm trying to get money and funding for a man.
Right. Oh wow. Ooh. There's a lot. There's a lot to that, and
Yeah,
I think
it can really be unpacked. That's like a whole nother hour on that one.
Yeah, exactly. How do you believe faith communities need to show up differently, more boldly, more consistently in the ongoing fight for justice?
I think the faith community need to get in the fight. I feel like a lot of the churches have just kind of like been barbed wire in when it relates to justice, and leaders and pastors advocating for their members and different things. I don't feel like the church really got into that yet. I feel like there's a grace that is coming, that we can tap into social justice. But a lot of churches, I don't feel like they are, running programming or trying to seek to develop a model that will bring in a new influx of believers. You know what I'm saying? And it's like everybody can go online and get church. Excuse me. So what can we offer different? And I think when you start being able to meet people right where they're at, not where you want them to be, trying to preach Jesus down their throat, but showing it, you know what I'm saying? Showing love, going out, talking to people, going out, talking to these young people, And a lot of and that's why they say churches, 85, 80, 70% women, is because a lot of times we have given up on man. You know what I'm saying? We've given up on the male. We've given up on the man. We've given up on the king. And as long as we got all the queens giving their money and supporting pastor traveling all across town, like a lot of leaders just overlook it and say, hey, I'm okay. They got me in my Cadillac. I can keep my house. Hey, if the men want to stay at home and watch their Sunday football, hey, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Hey, send your wife because she giving me the money anyway. So I feel like churches need to be more intentional about coming out of the four walls and go and talking to somebody that don't look like you. When I'm out there in the street, I talk to everybody, male, female, white, black, Italian, Hispanic. It does not matter. If I feel like if I cross your path and you're willing to let me talk to you, I'm gonna talk to you, speak to you, let you know it ain't gonna be like this always. And I feel like that's what we got to do. We got to get back to touching the people.
No, before we got to the show when we chatted, I told you we do Black History 365.
Yes, sir.
I want to go to here with Black History, legacy, and your cultural identity. Can you tell us how has your life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. shaped your work, your worldview, and the vision you carry for your community?
He has shaped it in the sense that I told myself I believe that I can be one of many that can carry the fulfillment of his dream. That he can create a community, create a city, create a space, create an environment where people, boys and girls, men and women, can come together in fellowship and collaborate and work with each other for the greater good of all people, not just one people, not just for the Jewish community. You see, we can follow and find something from them, but they can't be the only one.
Right.
And I believe that Dr. King and what he did and his legacy and different books I read from him, he has inspired me to pick up the torch where he had to leave it. And I think that's what has happened in the world. It's like the world is waiting. And maybe the new strategy is that in each city, we find a leader that can pick up the torch. It's not about a one-man show or one man doing a 1,000,000-man march or 10 billion march anymore, but about you have an impact right there within your own confines and limits of your own city.
Right.
If we had like 1,000 Dr. Kings in each city, not over each city, but 1,000 Dr. Kings across the nation that had that vigor, that had that belief, that had that vision, that had that tenacity, that had that courage to cry out, not just in the prayer closet, but cry out at public call, cry out in front of the different leaders of your city and say, I see a melting pot. I see people being able to come together because at this particular point, you got every particular race or nationality suffering with some type of mental illness or disease. Yeah. Suicide has increased among all nationalities.
Yes.
Now, this is what they do because I love my dear black people. Now, this is what we do versus every other culture. We gossip. So we put all our business on social media stuff. Now, all the other cultures, they keep it in-house and shove it, through private text messages when they come to each other's house. But it's out there. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got to be willing to bring full disclosure. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you go to prison. It just ain't all black people. It's just that we get the worst sentence, but I've gone to prison for 12 years. A lot of those prison camps got more white people in it than they do black.
Yeah.
But the Matrix, the news, any report that you get, I never tell you that.
Of course not.
Right. So that's why I say there's a different strategy we got to take. We got to take up the cross from where Dr. King left it off and ask for new strategies and new innovation that I think if we bring in a collective of people of color, the Indians, the Puerto Ricans, the Hispanic, the Asians. Yeah, they're all dealing with illness. They're all dealing with suicide. Yeah. And they starting to get a little more weighty too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, and dealing with, overeating and stuff, because I eating all that right rice, you know what I'm saying? So they
Right.
do something together. Yeah. But that stuff we got to be willing to teach them, you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I feel like Dr. King has empowered me with, the faith and justice, is that his dream can be a reality.
What specific aspect of Dr. King's vision, particularly his concept of the beloved community, do you see yourself as actively carrying forward in the work you do?
Removing the stigma of being judged by our color. If I have one goal, if I have one legacy that I'm going to be intentional about, and why I always, speak it and say, I'm going to be, community wellness is a multicultural thing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes, I'm a black leader, but yeah, I want to be that black leader to say I got all different types of ethnicities in my organization. You know what I'm saying? And nothing against my white brothers, because I'm loving too, but why is it that the white man can get every culture up under his leadership? You know what I'm saying? Black people want to go to a white church and, a white leadership church or whatever. Like, yeah, I want white people to know that I love them without holding their color against them, and that my love is pure, and that you can be up under a black leader. So I want to re-image, or I have reimagined what it looks like for us. And like, there needs to be a rebranding of the black man, for real. So I'm willing to come out and take what Dr. King did and allow myself to rebrand and be one of the people to rebrand the image of the black man and put something in the community that involves everybody.
Yeah. What other Black historical figures beyond Dr. King have most deeply influenced your sense of purpose and the way you move in the world?
It actually, you said that first vision came to mind was President Obama.
Mhm.
When I think about President Obama, one thing that I took away from him throughout his full 8 years is that, now I'm sure he had told Michelle he had some moments he had to pause before he spoke. You know what I'm saying? But on that camera, he did not allow the negativity of what other people thought about him to influence how he presented himself. And that's a masterpiece. That's a piece of art to be able to do that, because people, as I've learned myself, people will try you when you're trying to do something good, and they will try you on the day that you ain't prepared for them, but you got to be willing to react in a way that allows your character to stay truthful, to allow your character to stay respected. And I had to give them to him, because I know he had heard some things and been told some things that it would have changed who he was had he not mastered who his identity was. You see, when you master your identity, when other people, I've learned, when other people do stuff to you that is contrary to what that you know that you are, oh, it may come, but it ain't about to hit and make no impact. The words ain't gonna plant no seed in my soul, in my heart. I can keep the main thing, the main thing. And what's the main thing? Being an example of what authentic, true spiritual leadership is supposed to look like.
Wow. You know, I mean, that could not have been put no better because, as you just think about that though, because, a lot of people can see a lot of different things and we all don't see things the same.
Yes.
But I think, when it comes to President Obama, I think there is something for each and every individual, not just here in the US, but around the whole world, that they can take from his 8 years in the White House.
Yeah.
Because he truly set a standard that I don't think will never be touched again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, he was pure excellence.
Hands down, right? Hands up. Yes.
He was pure excellence.
Yeah. Yeah. I never saw him fumble. I never saw him sweat on any question, any accusation, interview after interview. And again, those are the ones that they allowed us to see. You see what I'm saying? So
right.
You're right. It was just like, when I think about like doing the work that he had to do and just operating with different cultures and different ethnicities and just always staying in his true identity. It's like that's powerful.
Yeah. What does Black history mean to you personally? Not just as an academic discipline, but in your bones, in the lived experience, in your identity.
Black history for me is about, making impact. I think we all, if we open up our hearts and look at what we actually do for each other, we all have our own story of being part of Black history.
Yes.
So for me, Black history is about when someone comes into my presence, that I make a lasting impact, that something positive you can take away from having a quick interaction with me, even if it's at the grocery store, even if I'm, walking down the street and I see you, or if I'm walking in the park and I say hi. It's just all, I feel like all of that, every moment that we got is a part of history, because uh 5 minutes ago is the past, and that's already history.
Right. Um, what legacy are you building? When your work is done and your chapter is written, what do you want people to say about Leonard M. Ervin Jr.?
That this man started with little or nothing to build with, and that my foundation was built from the ground up. I didn't have no money set aside. I ain't have no big check or anything waiting on me. And then, the people that passed away, they ain't telling their business, but they ain't have no life insurance, so they ain't leave us anything. All them deaths. I said, man, ain't nobody got no life insurance. We ain't do this right, y'all. So, but yeah, it's just about understanding that I came from small beginnings. I had my struggles. I had to overcome um, different things in life that was inherited and also systematically that was given to me. But like Maya Angelou said, I rise and I still rise. I rise
Yes.
from the ashes of the dust. I rise like the Phoenix sun. And that's what I want people to realize and be able to say about me was that, oh, Leonard Ervin Jr., he allowed himself to rise from the ashes and did not allow his beginning or even his middle be his ending, because I'm here to make impact now.
Oh, that's what's up. I love that. Final question for you.
Yes, sir.
If you could speak directly to the next generation of Black leaders, the
Mhm.
young men and women watching this right now, what would you say to them?
I would say have a dream. And with that dream, don't be afraid to put the work in, to let you be a part of it and have the starring role, that it actually is fulfilled. It actually is come and it actually comes to pass. I think if we get back to dreaming and imagining bigger and better things and actually willing to put in the work and take the risk, you got to be willing to take the risk. And you take the risk, you start realizing, oh, the matrix is nothing but an illusion. That there is resources, there's funding, there's opportunity, and especially if you have a relationship with my heavenly Father, He's going to back you, He's going to support you, He's going to put the right people in front of you, and you're going to be at the right place at the right time. So don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to take the risk to start your dream, and be willing to put in the work until you see that dream is fully fulfilled, that you can sit back on that front porch and drink you some lemonade and be like, wow, I can't believe I actually built that.
Okay, you did it.
Yeah.
So in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave for our audience? Tell them how to connect with you via social media, your website, just all of those good things you'd like for them to know.
Okay. So I would say that be okay with using your voice. I think a lot of times when we're arguing and fighting, I always tell the people that people that love to argue, people love to fight, like your voice is supposed to be used for something else. So if you grew up always arguing, always fighting, always getting people off, always getting people told, use your voice now to make a difference. Use your voice now to advocate for you. Find something that you see out of place and your family and your community that you can begin to work within, volunteer at. It's like do something. It's like we've been on mute for so long that we don't know how to express ourselves in a way that is uh, promoting or a way that promotes social justice. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see more men like Charles and I out front trying to make impact on the stuff that really matters. I ain't talking about just fluff stuff and everybody trying to give you this gimmick stuff that ain't really getting anywhere. We got enough of people out here doing that. But I'm talking about coming and being authentic and being your true self and allowing your story to be something that other people can enjoy and gravitate to. That's what I want you to know. That's what I want to leave with you on today.
Mm.
On social media, I'm on all social media platforms with my name, Leonard Ervin Jr. And I'm going to actually be switching to YouTube. So if you really want to connect, get with me on YouTube, as Mr. Charles King has further inspired me to start my own podcast and start doing a little bit of that work. So that's in the working. I've been out here testing my voice and with him and his platform. So I'm grateful and appreciative for that again. But that's what it's about. This brother, if I can tell the story, this brother reached out to me on LinkedIn. He saw the potential in my story and my work. And he hit me up and we had a conversation and we've been building this effective relationship ever since then. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your platform. Thank you for sharing your audience with me again. I don't take it lightly. And I am forever grateful that you were like the first one to put me out here.
Well, I appreciate you more than you can imagine, and I appreciate you for being here tonight because again, the moments are always so precious. They're always so dear, but they're also so meaningful.
Yes, sir.
And again, you have once again, I think you've given our audience the opportunity to not just learn more about who you are, but the purpose, especially with your community wellness program and that your organization, because that's what we should be doing in our communities.
Yes, sir.
So in closing, well, before I close, if you could have a few minutes after I close, I would definitely appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And for those of you that are watching on all of our channels, including our YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I would appreciate it if you would support us by subscribing and enabling all notifications, like the video, and even share it, because I think it's really meaningful that there's somebody that needs to hear not just what Leonard's story is, but the meaning and the purpose behind it to help to motivate and to inspire them as well. So in closing, I'm going to close with this monologue. And there you have it, America. That is Leonard Ervin Jr. And if you are not moved by what you just heard, I invite you to sit with it a little longer. Because some conversations do not ask for an immediate response. Some conversations ask for reflection, for action, for a quiet moment where you look at your own life and ask yourself, what am I building? Who am I serving? What legacy am I leaving? Tonight, we talked about healing, not the kind you find in a quick fix or press release, but the deep generational community-wide healing that happen when people of purpose decide to show up and stay. We talked about faith that does not flinch in the face of injustice. We talked about financial literacy as liberation. We talked about the beloved community not as a distant dream, but as a daily practice. And we talked about what it means to be a man, a father, a minister, and a servant, all at the same time. I want to encourage every single person watching tonight to look up Community of Wellness, 501c3. Support the work, share the mission, because organizations like this led by people like Leonard, are the infrastructure of our healing. They're not waiting for a government grant or a national spotlight to do the work. They are doing it right now in real communities with real people producing real change. Find them, follow them, fund them if you can. And to you, our AMIBW family, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing that our stories matter. Thank you for being a part of a community that refuses to be erased, refuses to be silenced, and refuses to stop dreaming. Please like this episode, share it with somebody who needs it, subscribe to America in Black and White so you never miss a moment of this conversation. And leave us a comment. Tell us what Leonard said that landed in your spirit tonight. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King. This has been America in Black and White, Season 4, Episode 110. Until next time, keep healing, keep building, and keep shining. Good night. You all have a great evening. We will see you tomorrow evening for another